Okay, so welcome back. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the lowest common denominator of these three fractions, but now instead of dealing with variables and some simpler fractions, we're going to deal with now some algebra expressions. Okay? And so now the first thing is we want to factor, just like we did before, we want to factor all of these denominators into prime factors. Okay? So in this case here, we want to factor this one. How? Well, this one is going to be factoring into what? Well, we've got x minus 1 times x minus 1. Okay? So, oh, and this is the difference of two squares, so that means this is going to factor into x minus 1 times x plus 1. And if you don't see that this is a difference of two squares, just put a little square here, and 1 squared is 1. Okay, so this is a difference of two squares, and now this also factors, so again, this is the greatest common factor of x, so we can write it that way. So now, none of these factors can be factored further. So that means we're done. These are the prime factors of the denominator. Now, how do we get the lowest common denominator or the least common multiple? Okay, same thing. So the least common multiple of these will give us the least common divisor. Okay, so the LCD, again, remember, we take each different factor. So what are the different factors, right? So by the way, this is going to be x minus 1 squared. Okay? So now, what are the different factors that we have? Well, we have x minus 1. Okay? What else do we have? We have x plus 1. And what else do we have? We have x. Okay? So these are the distinct or different factors that we have. There's no other factors that come out. So now, what's the largest power of x minus 1 that we have? Well, it's going to be x minus 1 squared, so that's the one that we want. What's the largest power of x plus 1? Well, it's just 1. That's all we have. And then the largest power of x that we have is just that one, which is just 1. And so now if we multiply these together, okay, what do we get? We get x minus 1 squared times x plus 1 times x. So that's what we need on the bottom. So again, how do we do this? What's missing? So what's missing from the bottom here? Okay, so if we take the x minus 4 over x minus 1 squared, what do we get? Well, what do we need? Well, we're missing an x plus 1 and an x. So I need to multiply the bottom by x plus 1 times x. Well, if I do that on the bottom, I have to do it on the top. So that's going to be x plus 1 times x. Okay? So what do I get? I get x minus 4 times x plus 1 times x over x minus 1 squared times x plus 1 times x. Okay? Now, what about this one? Well, I've got an x plus 1, and I've got an x minus 1, but I need another x minus 1, and I need an x. So I'm going to have 1 over x minus 1 times x plus 1. And so I need to multiply by another x minus 1 and x. So which means I'm going to have to multiply the top also by x minus 1 and also x. And so this simplifies to x minus 1 x over x minus 1 squared, x plus 1 times x. And then finally, this one here, I'm missing what? I'm missing an x minus 1 and an x plus 1. So I've got x times x minus 1, and so I'm going to multiply the bottom by another x minus 1 and x plus 1. And so of course I need to multiply the top by the same thing, x minus 1 times x plus 1. And so finally I get what? I get x plus 3 times x minus 1 times x plus 1 over the common denominator of x times x minus 1 squared times x plus 1. Okay, so again, I just did the exact same thing as I did in the last video. So I went from these three fractions to these three fractions, and all of these fractions are equivalent. So this is equivalent to this fraction is equivalent to this, and this fraction is equivalent to this one, but now all of them have a common denominator. And now I can do things with these. And again, I can simplify the numerators and stuff like that. I can do some other things, but the main part of this example is showing you, one, how to go from three fractions that have no common denominator to three fractions that are equivalent that have a common denominator. That's it. Have a great day.